It is recording.
So if we're looking at those recommendations, I think, Diane, you sent that. I think it's kind of an overview so that we can get back to understanding the direction that this subcommittee wants to go. Is that?
Yes, I have that. Yes. Let me go ahead and share this as well. Alrighty. Do you only see one window?
We see your presentation window.
Oh,
That
good.
shows the next slide.
Okay.
I mean, that's not really the best one because it shows the next slide.
Oh. It should have been sharing on the correct one. Okay. Just do this. Okay. So here are the recommendations, just the titles of them. And then here are some slides that show the breakdown of the recommendations.
And what are we looking to do with them?
Well, I think it was just to discuss what our next steps were supposed to be based on the recommendations, or what we want to do next, I think.
Does that mean we think we have finished what we did before?
The C&D debris processing ordinance, is that what we had been, is that the particular one? Sorry.
Isn't the next step to talk to the asphalt manufacturers? And then to talk to the people who make the asphalt? I mean, who then would bid on the asphalt?
Right. I think for that one, we got to a point where maybe we already know what is to happen. It just takes some time. So, I believe we're looking at what else are we working on here? I guess directions for maybe another one, or pick back up one that we've talked about before. So that's why we pulled back up the impact effort thing that we'd done a while back, and then just looking at the how each of those recommendations are described in the study.
Marie, I thought we were going to look at some asphalt manufacturers and let them tell us what they need.
Diane, you got any thoughts from having conversations with Pete, who is not here today?
Well, I thought that we're kind of at a standstill until we get some information back from the state or the city to see what they want to do. That we don't have, that Pete contacted them, but they haven't gotten back with any further information. So like Karen said, in lieu of that, to go ahead and try and see if there's anything else that we can work on till we get some more information for the C and D.
Do you have any recommendations as to what we should look at next?
No, I don't. We can all look at getting me a pony for Christmas. That's the only thing I'm thinking of. No, I have no idea.
Karen, do you have any ideas?
Not necessarily. I was looking at back at the descriptions to see if there's any that we've talked about before. Have we done anything with the countywide service level standards? I guess
That's
that
going to
would
be the most difficult thing for us to do. And so we were holding that until the last.
okay. There's one about USD bulky waste, but we still are waiting on the bulky waste appointment system to launch. Let's see. I mean, we have the proposal approved for expanded marketing campaign for recycling and composting with residential, but I think that was the one where I was trying to figure out how some of the programs that we had lined up with that. So I don't know if that's worth looking at our proposal again.
Actually, that wouldn't hurt for you to update us as to where you are on that.
Well, I guess when you read, like if, Diane, if you pull up the screen that actually has that one described words, it mentions community-based social marketing, image, well, we already put images on all our materials, youth education, partnerships with schools, outreach efforts. So I do feel like this is some, things that we're constantly working toward. So maybe we need to flesh that out. I'm looking at, like when it talks about partnerships with schools, although we're starting a partnership hopefully with Brightside. They have some money through District 21 to go to schools to do some outreach. So we're trying to do a after school program at Rutherford Elementary. So that our part in that would have to do with recycling. Of course, with the pandemic, we haven't done as much outreach, but I do feel like it's picking back up, and therefore we need to get back to being a little bit more proactive and reaching out and initiating, here's what we offer, rather than just waiting for teachers and organizations to contact us. So, so that's certainly something we can look at. Let me see, Diane, do you have that proposal? I'm going to look through files and see if I can't find it. I do have that pulled up. Do you want me to share my screen so we can kind of refresh our
Sure.
memories? Because I think, let's see.
Do you want me?
I think it does it. Is that what you all see?
Mm-hmm.
So it looks like we had key design questions like the other proposal.
Are you talking about the bullet points under proposal?
Yeah, that's what I was looking at first.
Oops, did I do something wrong here? Here we go.
So this is just the wording, kind of like we had on the screen earlier. Let me see if there's anything else. It looks like we found some possible example programs. I would say current practices and programs can be updated, of course. I don't know how much is different, but and then of course this cost is just the entire education. I think what was listed in the study for. But so, and then we wrote out pros that it seems ready to go. Does not require any ordinance changes. We already have a lot of involvement from stakeholders. Cons would be small number of staff members, and look at that. We now have 3. Multifamily properties don't always offer recycling, but we've actually included multifamily in the ICI subcommittee. So additional cost for curbside recycling in unincorporated areas would be an issue. And then we do have our additional educator. So, let's see. I don't know. I think a lot has happened since we looked at this.
Actually, a lot has happened and it's very good. One of the things that I notice as we go through this is that it very often is talking about homeowner associations. There are literally thousands of those in Jefferson County. I wonder if we might not be more effective in talking to only large homeowner associations and some of the smaller cities. I think we'd have a potentially larger group to talk to. I mean, just my tiny city has 22 homeowner associations in it.
Okay. What is the best method to communicate with? I I mean, I think I understand communication with the small cities, but homeowners associations, would each of those cities have a way to communicate with maybe presidents of those?
Very many of them don't, which is
Mm.
kind of interesting. Some of them do for different reasons, but I worked on something in our city a couple of years ago. It was a heck of a lot of work. I didn't get a lot of bang for all of those hours. And partially it's because their interests are provincial. They don't care about some of the things that we do. They're not an issue for them, or there's something they can't control. And so I think that it would be interesting to talk to some of the waste haulers and some of the people that they contract with. And I think that might give us a better walk in than talking just to presidents of homeowners associations. A lot of them have nothing to do with waste hauling. They don't contract for it separately. You know, I think another approach might be more effective.
That's a good point, especially with the waste haulers. Because I know we have even people on the call right now,
Exactly.
right?
We have a lot more participation. We might ask them who they would suggest we contact.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, Sandra, it's Andy Reynolds with Waste Management. Just wanted to say that it's a little bit of a hunt and peck game, to try to contact some of the HOAs I mean, you have two kinds of HOAs. You have active HOAs who generally have contracted with a hauler of some kind because they're interested in getting a rate for their neighborhood or securing, uniform services throughout the HOA. The difficulty is in getting in contact with the HOAs that aren't active, that formed when the neighborhood was built, or for some other reason. A lot of times it's for one very specific reason, and then they never really meet again. Um, I mean, what I will say is that the Greater Louisville Association of Realtors maintains a current list of all of the HOA presidents that has their phone numbers and email addresses. I mean, it may be worth, even if it's just sending out an email, to all of those people, just to see what your response rate is. That's a little bit less of a lift than trying to reach out by phone and see, who's even there, or going off of old information off of HOA websites or previous contracts and things like that.
Thank you. I agree. I think though that sometimes what you're calling about non-active HOAs, for example, none of the HOAs in my small city care about waste hauling because the city does it. And so I have a feeling that we're talking about several contacts, looking at several ways of contacting people who might have an interest in what we hope to accomplish.
Yeah, that's definitely a possibility. I mean, but I think the first step to doing that is to identify who those groups are. Until you have a better grasp of who the HOAs are, you're not going to be able to have any success with changing
I agree.
behavior, or having any sort of concerted effort.
Well, I would say that we need to contact the waste haulers, and they'll tell us who. I think we can find who their major contracts are with. I think we need to talk to the Jefferson County League of Cities, tell them what our goals are, and ask them how they can assist us, because they would tend to have, not everybody, but a significant percentage of the people that are in situations like mine where the HOAs would not be a productive contact. And then I think the next step after that is that we need to talk about what we want from them, what we want to give them, so that we have talking points. I think that we need to do something that puts together how what we want to accomplish is good for them. I can
What-
tell you're thinking, Karen. What are you thinking about?
I was thinking, what do we know what our specific goals are? Or would that be one of the first things?
I agree. I think that probably is what we need to start with.
And in our key design questions, I know we were trying hard to come up with goals that are easily measured, because sometimes it can be difficult to measure, um, you know, some of the things that we want to see happen. It can be hard to know how you measure that we've succeeded. But so there in our examples, like increased commodity capture rates, increased participation, and decreased recycling contamination. Are there any other types of goals that
Don't all of those goals relate to information that would be captured by waste haulers?
yes, except for the contamination, I guess, would come more from the facility itself that processes it. But I guess as far as participation, since we don't currently have any kind of, well, if we're in communication with the waste haulers, we know that there are some, I guess that's unincorporated, that wouldn't necessarily, well, I don't know.
There was only a couple that really didn't do anything.
Yeah. Andy, can you tell, or do you have like a participation rate or something? Like, because I know, like, if you have a contract with well, I guess some HOAs, they still have to pay a little extra if they want to participate in recycling, right? And then sometimes maybe
Yeah, I mean,
it's not
generally it will be, so we have, without going into specific contracts or anything like that, we have some contracts that have, and I think this would be the case for just about any private hauler. We have contracts where recycling is included as part of the overall contract. It's paid for by the HOA. We also have contracts where trash is paid for by the HOA, but recycling is optional and is paid for, or is even mandatory potentially, but is paid for by the resident themselves. The issue with getting a participation rate is going to be on those contracts where the HOA pays for everything, because in some cases it is, not just in our billing system, but in our routing system, it is going to be one account. You might have, especially on places where you have smaller HOAs, right? If you have a condo association that's 20 units, those 20 units might be one account. So we can't really even, where with an individual home, we can mark something out or not out, which is what our drivers do every time they go by and see a trash can or a recycle bin or not. They can't really do that with an entire condo association, because they would be saying there's 20 recycle bins that aren't out. But I mean, we could get a decent information on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I was thinking like even in the USD, it's just sort of provided, but not everybody participates. So it's hard to determine sometimes. And then I guess with the actual recycling, that would be determined through material audits at the facility.
Yeah, and judging by the way that West Rock sorts, I don't know that it would be, how easy it would be to get something that would be specific to an individual hauler, or even based on routing, right? If you're picking up some stuff from unincorporated areas and HOAs and small cities together to have a better idea. I mean, I think just going by West Rock's general contamination rate is going to be the best choice, because I mean, everybody outside of Rumpke essentially takes their material to West
Yeah.
Rock.
And because I know we've done some small, in our pilot for our Recycle Right Oops Tag program, we did some small audits. So but that definitely required having a truck collect the area, take it straight to West Rock, and that was all they saw. So, so that would probably be a huge ask for any kind of haulers to partner with. But you know, if we
Yeah, and
wanted.
it's more so an ask, I think, for West Rock. It depends on what they're willing to do. So for us to
Mhm.
take a truck over and drop it off is really no different if they tell us to put it in one pile than it is to put it in another. It's then what's
Okay.
West Rock's capability or willingness to, to sort through that truck and run an audit on it.
Okay. Well, that at least gets us a little bit more detailed questions as far as goals. On those goals, can anybody think of anything else that could be added?
Why don't we consider having West Rock come in and Rumpke also at our next meeting so that we can talk about these with greater specificity?
Sounds good.
Marie, what do you think? You're the only other committee member here today.
I think that's a great idea.
Sounds
No,
fine.
I
Probably learn
yeah,
a
I think
lot.
that's great.
And I know Hillary from Rumpke is on the call. Does that sound like, and Kim's not, but you can definitely reach out to her. Hillary, does that sound like something you'd be able to do? If
Yeah, I
you're-
could either myself or I could get someone else to provide some specific information as long as we know exactly what you guys are looking for, we'd be happy to share what we can.
I think more, not so much specific information, but as guidance, as what would be possible and what wouldn't. What would we do that would be realistic rather than putting a burden on you if we came up with some of these things?
Gotcha.
And we can form that into a email. Since Kim's not here, we'll need to kind of put that into words for asking for participation next month. Sorry, I stopped sharing, but did you all need to see any more of that, or we can also, would you all like us to email that file back out? Because it might be something that you don't have on hand anymore. And maybe Marie F, you might not have it at all. You might not have been around when we did that. So we can do that.
Anything else?
Who's on, who's on the phone with the last two digits of 40?
I think that's me, and I might have talked out of turn. I thought somebody was asking me a question. It might have been the other Marie. It's Marie Burnett. I'm on my
Okay.
cell phone.
Okay. Thanks.
Okay, then in summary, in terms of what we were doing with construction waste, it sounds like we're waiting for the city of Louisville and the state to talk to us in regard to going forward in any way on the 3 items that we had talked about with construction waste, the gypsum, the shingles, and the concrete. Is that correct? Okay. And now we're talking about moving forward on this, but we need to have more guidance. And so we're talking, bringing some people to our next meeting so that we have more information. Okay. I think we also need to make a concerted effort to find out if people are going to come to the meetings or not. Because if we have to take action, we do need a quorum.
Yes, we can do that.
Yeah, oh, you do a good job. We're just gonna have to pound a little harder. Is there anything else we need to talk about today? No? then I can't ask for a motion for dismissal because there's not enough of us here. We'll just go ahead and dismiss. And of course, our next meeting is the second Tuesday of next month. Thank you all for coming.
Thank you.